Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. Tim, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. It's nice to be back here with you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How was your vacation?
How was your vacation?
I had an amazing trip. So I was in the Basque country of Spain, outside San Sebastian. Well, eventually, I was a little bit further out there, but as you know, myself and one of our other master coaches, Arthur, took one of our high-end one-on-one clients. We took him on a very interesting journey. Working with plant medicines. He worked with us. We use that to do some very drastic breakthroughs, things that this person's been working on for a very long time. And we use that as an accelerant. And it was a really, really good experience.
Yeah. All that you guys got to go through that. Incredible.
Yeah, it's a bummer that you couldn't make it. So for those that don't know, Tim was also going to come with us. The three of us were going to work with this individual. He had some big things he was working on and working through, and has been for a while. And you got all the way to Madrid, I believe, right? Or was it Barcelona? And
Barcelona.
you had an emergency in the family that caused you to have to buy a plane ticket immediately and turn around and go home. So I'm glad everything turned out okay on the home front, and you were definitely missed.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I got. I think I came down with COVID like midway through the week or something. I'm sure it will have been some kind of entanglement with you guys going through your process.
Certainly could have been. I had a great experience. Not everybody had a great experience and got what they needed from the trip. Let's just say if anybody's ever done plant medicines or worked with somebody who specializes in plant medicine. So plant medicine, for those that don't know, these are medicines that have been used for thousands and thousands of years through different cultures and customs. And so a lot of these can actually open and expand the mind and the consciousness, or help you bypass the ego and give you insights. And so I had a beautiful experience. Really was enjoyable for me. Others had to work through some stuff that they're working through. But as you know, it's like working out. Sometimes you got to go through the tough workouts to get the results you want.
Yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of bad experiences and on the plant medicine, and it's definitely not enjoyable in the least at the moment. Just keep telling
No.
yourself, I need this, I need this. Like, yeah, this must be what I need, must be what I need. Trying to keep your head in the game, but it just feels, it's not enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it not all the time, although it can be,
There it
apparently.
goes. Yeah, goes that way, it's not enjoyable.
Well, yeah, the topic for today I want to talk about, Tim, is so for those that don't know, our flagship program is the activation method for relationships. Right now, we have a couple versions of the activation method, but we tend to talk about the relationship angle, which helps married businessmen save their marriage without having to talk about it, get the love and respect back in their wife's eyes. And one of the things that happens oftentimes, these are all business owners and businessmen, and they go into some guys are invited to go into our 1 year mastermind called the Brotherhood. And I got off a phone call with one of these gentlemen yesterday, and the topic we were talking about was he has got a business, I'll call it consulting, if you will, and they also have a program where business leaders can go through. It's leadership training, and he's been very successful at it, he and his team. And we were talking about how he can get more leads. It was lead generation, and basically client acquisition was the conversation. And I know we don't talk a lot about business on this podcast as much as we used to, right? We're mostly focused on relationships, but since we have businessmen here, I thought we'd dive into a couple of these things, and I can circle around it with exactly how this can be applicable to a man's marriage as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So first of all, the conversation was great. This guy had a lot of background in marketing, business. So he's extremely knowledgeable, as most of the men that we work with are. Very successful in his own right. And as we were discussing client acquisition, something that you and I have been great at is really getting to know the inside of the people that you work with, the people that you serve. So the men that we serve, I think you and I know them very well. We know what's going on. And as I was talking to this gentleman, as I related, as you know, Tim, when I used to kind of guest lecture at the university, is what is that individual's 2 a.m. conversation? And so what I mean by that is what is the conversation for the people that you're trying to serve or work with? What's the conversation that's going through their head at 2 o'clock in the morning? And ideally, as a business owner, we relate that to our product or service. But in general, what's the 2 a.m. conversation? So when somebody pops up at 2 in the morning and can't go back to sleep, and the demons are coming in, if you will, the darkness is surrounding them, they're in the valley of despair. What is the conversation that's in their head? What is it that, it's common in marketing, we'll call it Hell Island. What's going on in Hell Island for this person? And it was a fascinating topic as we were going through and breaking down that process of how to figure that out and what going through. And one of the things that came to me in that conversation, Tim, was how many men know what their wives' 2 a.m. conversation is? How many men know what's going on for their kids at 2 in the morning when they're staring up at the ceiling in the middle of the night, can't go to sleep? What is your wife thinking about, right? What is she contemplating? What's going on? So we can take both of these angles through this podcast conversation, just kind of discuss ways that you can kind of figure this out.
Yeah, good topic.
Thank you. So one way you can go through it, guys, as you're looking at this and your clients, the first and foremost, and this is something that almost nobody does in all my years of consulting or being an interim CMO for companies coming in, very rarely, and I almost could say never, have I been in a company, despite how good they are, despite how big their marketing plan team is, where they have an existing CMO who's well trained. Very rarely do they actually ask people. Now, I know it sounds so stupid, right? Oh, of course they ask. Of course we talk to our customers. Of course we talk to our prospects. But they really don't go to the level of conversation that matters. So here's an example. I walk up to you and I say, "Hey, how you doing?" And that person says, "I'm not too bad," or "I'm doing good." And that ends, right? And that's the way most business owners are approaching these conversations with their prospects. There's no depth to it. At the same time, men are approaching this with their wives and their kids. Not a lot of depth. So what you want to do is ask more questions. So in this, I'm going to use this as an analogy, guys. This is only an analogy. So you want to take the questions, and they're going to be very different for your organization, your business, or the conversation with your wife. What you want to do is ask deeper questions. So I'll use Tim as my example here. If Tim says, I say, "Tim, how you doing?" Not bad. Well, that's a key for me because he's not saying great. He's not saying amazing. But either way, "Oh, really? Not bad. Well, what's going on?" And then Tim is now has the opportunity, because that's an open loop question. It's not a yes or no question, for Tim now to explain to me what's happening for him. Now, what we've done, and Tim, you know this, is we record these conversations. We do it. First and foremost, we really care, right? That's really important. We really care about what's going on with the men we serve, right? We have a lot of men in the movement. We call the powerful man. I think we have over 1,000 men going through programs right now. And we really, really care at a deep level. We have meetings every single day. Our coaches have them 5 days a week about the clients that we serve. And we want to know what's going on for them, what's working, what's not working, what roadblocks are they hitting. And we want to know in their own words. Now, the own words is very key. And we can talk a little about this in depth. And I know you can as well, Tim. And we have a masterclass for the guys that are in the brotherhood that goes over language matters. We have a couple of them that can go into the psychology of how to use this in business, but also in your marriage and relationships. So if I'm talking to Tim and I'm asking him how he's doing, and I ask him, "Okay, well, what's going on?" And Tim starts to explain to me, what I want to do is take note, not only what Tim is saying, but the ways in which Tim is communicating. I don't know the statistic, maybe you do, Tim, is I think it's verbal communication is only like 5% of communication, right? Meaning that we have 95% of all communications nonverbal, right? The tone that Tim is going to use, the word choices, his body language, all of these things I'm going to be watching. Now, whether I'm doing this with a prospect, with a client, or with my wife, I want to get to the root of what's really going on. And I want to start noticing what that 2 a.m. situation is. What is that 2 a.m. thing that's going on for Tim? So if Tim says I'm doing okay, or yeah, I'm doing good enough, or whatever his response is, that leaves me an opening knowing that things aren't great right now for Tim. And so I want to figure out what that is and what's going on. And this is where empathy can come in really into play.
Something that I love that we do as well with the men once when they come in the movement. Obviously, when the men fill in the intake forms with us, typically they share even more information about what's really going on for them than they share with us in the initial conversations with the advisors. Well, why is that? Well, it's because there's a deeper level of trust, right? They've had various conversations, they've opened up, they've felt heard, felt seen, they've resonated with somebody who shared with them some insights on why they have the problem that they have, why what they've tried hasn't been able to solve it, and why this other option over here might be something different and might work for them, right? And that creates a level of relationship, beginning of a relationship anyway, right? And therefore, when they come into the program, when they fill an intake form, we often get these long responses from the men, which is awesome. I love it, by the way. But because there's that trust there, because there's that connection, that relationship, they will then continue to share a lot more than they shared in the beginning. But it's taken consistency. It's taken time. Oftentimes, men tell us they join the activation method because we're the only company. I mean, we class ourselves as a movement, but we're the only company that's chosen to continue following up with them week after week, month after month, sometimes year after year. I think a force of nature. If you listen to this, I think I was following up with you for about 18 months. And now look at you, 4 years later, you're still here, getting the joy of working with one another. It's fantastic. Point being is there's been a consistent desire to want to serve the men and want to connect with them because we genuinely care. And same is true of your wife or your kids or whoever. You're going to reach out, you're going to ask questions, you're going to get knockbacks. You're not going to open up. But do you have a genuine desire to want to continue to find out how they're doing? To want to continue to support them to be happy or to feel loved or whatever it may be? And as you build that relationship bit by bit, you notice how you get to continue to build the trust through things like the emotive technique that we give the guys. And in doing so, you should empty the barriers and you'll get deeper and deeper responses, but more and more meaningful. So many parallels. So many parallels.
Well, there really are. And again, to give this man credit that I was talking to yesterday, he's very bright. And one of the things I really respected is somebody who's done this professionally for over a decade is, in the marketing side, is when I asked him, and he has a lot of marketing experience and very intelligent, is when I asked him, hey, do you have, what I call a client avatar? Do you have it broken down in such detail that they're paying better than they do? And to his credit, he said, no, not to the level that we need to. And that right there tells me how bright he is, right? Because it takes courage to admit that you don't have it, especially in front of somebody else. But also that tells me he's going to succeed. He's going to win. And we look at this from a business standpoint, right? How many people out there of you guys listening to this can tell me beyond a shadow of a doubt exactly who your ideal customer is? Exactly. Right. And don't tell me you serve everybody, because if you serve everybody, you serve nobody. Like, we've all know that. We've been in business long enough to know that. So who exactly is it? What is their 2 a.m. problem? And then you get to figure that out. Now, what about your wife? Do you know your wife's 2 a.m. problem? And if the answer is no, then that in itself is a major problem, and probably a big reason why things may not be working out in your marriage right now. Right. And I get it. Right. If things aren't going well, it's hard to have those conversations. But that is what your wife is dying for. She's dying for you to get into her world. Now, we say this on a lot of podcasts, Tim. Women want 3 things. They need 3 things. They need to be seen, they need to be heard, and they need to be desired. Now, heard could also be said understood, but they need to be seen, heard, and desired. And so what I mean by that is she is dying for you to get into her world. And it may have been decades since you've gotten into her world. You've been trying to get into her pants almost every day, but when's the last time you've gotten into her world and really knew the things that are keeping up, her worries, her concerns? Now, clearly, it could be your marriage and your relationship, but what else? And the key here is why. Why? Why is it so important to you? And why hasn't she done anything about it? Right? What is stopping her? What's the fear or the excuse? Now, I know a lot of you guys listening to this because I get the statistics of how many, tens of thousands of you listen to these podcast episodes, but I also know it's a very small percentage of you that actually sign up for the activation method. Why? Is it time? Is it money? Is it resources? Is it you don't know if it's going to work for you? What is the reasoning behind that? Now, I can guess based on percentages and what we see where you are at individually and collectively. But what about your wife? Why hasn't she done something different? What is she waiting for? What is she concerned and worried about? What are her fears? And what's going on there? Now, of course, you can take this again to your ideal clients. I would recommend, guys, if you don't know this and you're a CEO or an executive at a company or an owner, you need to know this answer. You don't have to be an expert in marketing. That's that's for crazy guys like me. But what you do need to do is understand the people that you serve, the people that you're here to help, right? The people that your products and services are for. And you need to understand them better than they understand themselves. A lot of guys watching this who've been through our program are going to laugh and they're going to be like, dude, because we hear this all the time, Tim. I swear you have cameras in my house. And the reason they say that is because we understand their situation as well, if not better, and I'm going to say better, than they do. And that's how we're able to provide solutions. That's why our programs consistently, we have an anonymous rating. So at the end of the activation method, every man rates the program anonymously so they can say anything they want. And we've had thousands of men go through this program. On a scale of 1 to 5, we have a 4.9 rating. That's huge. That is huge. The reason it is because we understand the problem and we also understand the solution. We understand the solution. Now, some men can't save their marriage because they wait too long. And every one of them says, man, I wish I would have done this earlier. We hear it all the time. And we do our best to communicate that to you guys. I'm doing it now. Dropping a little breadcrumb here for those guys that are on the fence or have been on the fence for a while. Use the Nike slogan and just do it. Just get it done. And that's what's really important. And you got to do this with your team. Sit down with your team. If you have a marketing team, I would demand this immediately. Hey, I need to see our client avatar, or it's said other ways, our buyer persona. But I need to see that and I need to know the details. I need to know what their fears are. What are their fears and desires? In marketing, we also say, if somebody's on Hell Island and they want to get to Heaven Island, right? So they're in pain, a problem they're trying to solve. And I don't care if you're selling hammers, you're selling relationship coaching, you're selling finance. There's a problem that someone's trying to solve. Okay. Like right now, before I got in this, I was looking for a way to secure a cooler to an ATV. Problem. Okay. And now I was looking on Amazon to try to figure that out. I need a solution. The ones I was clicking on were selling me the vision, right? You have something down, you need 2,200 pounds to tie it down so nothing breaks, right? They're selling me a vision of something greater, Heaven Island, right? That cooler being secured full of beer or soda or whatever else it is onto the back of my ATV. And they're selling me that thing. Now, the bridge needs to be your product or service. Right now, if you're struggling in your marriage and you feel like you and your wife are laying 6 inches apart, that you feel 6 miles away, and you want to get the love, respect, and admiration back into your marriage where your wife is looking at you with love and respect again in the eyes, then you need to take the activation method. The activation method literally is the bridge that takes you from the pain that you're feeling now in your marriage to the heaven of being back and connected with yourself and with your partner. Now, what about you? What about you and your business? What's your bridge? Your bridge is your product or service. That's easy. But what is your client's pain? What is the pain that's going through? Right? I know for a lot of you guys, you're in a sexless marriage. I know for most of you guys, your wife isn't respecting you. You're not being respected in your home. You're being treated like a paycheck, and that sucks. I was there. That's how I know. I was there. But what's heaven for you? Now, once you get that solved within your business, I'm going to challenge you guys. I am going to challenge you. And I know some of you guys that listen to this. So when I see a few of you in person coming up, I'm going to ask you this question. So fair warning. What is your partner's, your wife's 2 a.m.? What is her Hell Island? And what is her Heaven Island? And how do you, sir, how do you make yourself the bridge that takes your wife from Hell Island to Heaven Island? And I'm not just talking about the bedroom, although that could be part of it.
There's one bit to add to the whole hell and heaven island, right? You might be wondering, well, why doesn't the guy just swim across from hell to heaven. Well, there's a reason for that. There's the sharks in the water. The water's infested. So if he just goes in the water, he's going to get eaten. Doug loves this.
Say
Um,
sharks one more time.
so what those sharks basically represent, there you go, said it, are the faulty assumptions that your customer has, right? You've got your product, you understand the 2 a.m. question, you get clear on that. Like Doug said, you're getting clear on Heaven Island as well. Typically, one of the things anyway, that's going to stop them from moving forward with you is going to be some of the faulty assumptions that they have about
Mhm.
why your product may not work for them, whatever that may be. Some of the men that we work with, some of their faulty assumptions are things like, she won't leave me. The guys often think they can wait because the wife won't leave, which is a complete faulty assumption. The guys often think that, we've stopped arguing, so it's a good thing. Things aren't as bad. But the reality there is the wife is often checked out, so things are actually worse. It's a faulty assumption. Another one that the men that we work with have is, when I solve this business problem, that's when I'll fix the marriage issue. And they rationalize and justify all the reasons why they need to solve the business problem, or even, hey, when I've built this house, things will get better. So I'm just going to focus on building the house. Yeah, they build a house and never actually build a home and never have a family to actually live in the home with them. The same is true of your wife, right? Let's say you figure out a 2 a.m. question. Let's say you figure out what her Hell Island is and also her Heaven Island. Well, what are the faulty assumptions that she's making, right? Maybe one of them might be that every time I talk to you, you just shut me down.
Mm.
Could be true as well, right? It might be true. There's going to be others there that she's going to have. She may not be aware of these as much. It might take a little bit for you to just figure these out and just consider how your behavior may have created faulty assumptions for her. Right? For example, her Heaven Island might be the idea of being in a really loving relationship with you. The faulty assumption that she might have is that things are just never going to change. So therefore, she stopped trying. Right? You need to be able to bust those faulty assumptions. Obviously, a lot of these are not going to be busted through you just talking about it. One of the reasons why the men get such good results in the activation method, and obviously, look, not every single marriage is safe. We don't claim that we've got 100% success rate. That isn't possible. For some of the marriages, it's just too late. The guys have just left it too long. But they do always save themselves, which is a fantastic thing that the men always love. But point being is, part of the reason why the men do see such great results, and most guys see such great results, is because they take action. They've stopped talking and deliberating about what they are going to do, and instead they just do it, and their wife sees it, and they play it down, and they just do their thing for them because they know they need to change, and they see and feel the change from their guy. And they test it. Don't get me wrong, they definitely test it. They want to see if it's real. Is it going to last? Is he just doing this to manipulate me and trick me into thinking, lulling me really into a false sense of security? And then when I let down my wall or my guard, it all is just going to change. They want to test it, right? But the reality is they take action, and as a result, that's what busts the faulty assumption of it just won't work or things won't change, right? But they have to prove that with their actions.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And this is, why one of the first things we teach the men coming in is the live like a king system. Right? The live like a king system gives you that consistency to help you bust those faulty assumptions. We have the shit test masterclass, right? Where women are going to be testing you as they should. And guess what, guys? Your customers are going to test you too. They're not just going to believe your marketing claims. Look, you may not believe what we do is real. I would encourage you to go over to the website, thepowerfulman.com, and just look at the results. These are real men just like you, right? You want to see other people who've achieved this. It reminds me, Tim, of, going to the gym. I used to work in the fitness industry a lot, and you would often have, the best looking man, the guy that's buff and ripped, would very rarely get the best results for his clients, right? He was really good at, his own nutrition or his own workouts or his genetics or drugs he was taking. but very rarely did he get their best results. And oftentimes the person who got the best results was somewhere in the middle, right? But he got consistent results. And you want to make sure that's happening. Your wife's thinking the same thing. Your customers are thinking the same thing. They want to know that you can do what you're promising. And if anything, look, if you screw up, that's okay. Whether you screw up in business or you screw up in your personal life, that is okay as long as you own it. That is the key. If somebody falls off your bridge and lands in the sharks, they want to know that you are going to come pick them up, right? That's what it's about. That you're going to be there and be like, hey, look, you fell. I got you. Your wife wants to know that too. Your customers and your clients want to know that. So coming out of this, guys, out of this conversation, my challenge, and I do say challenge deliberately to you, is I want to know what is your ideal customer and what is their hell island. And on top of that, what is your wife's hell island? Now, if you guys have the gusto, and I'll call them huevos, if you will, if you have the cojones or whatever word you want to use to actually post this, I guarantee that you'll get great results because you'll get feedback from other guys, right? Feedback from other guys of what's going on. Post this either into the free group on Facebook or post this into our private community if you're already in the activation method or you're an alumni and you have access to that community. You get lots of great insights, and together we're always better, as they always say. Tim, I love your insights. Stay away from those sharks, brother. I hope you feel better on the COVID or whatever else you ended up catching, on your trip as well. Gentlemen, as we always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on the Powerful Man Show. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, wolf is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.